Hey there folks, John here for Diddy Kong's Quest, and last week's video on licensed games for the NES got me thinking a little bit about music. Specifically, some of these games that we talked about had some of the best soundtracks on the entire system, and then I had a thought, well, you know what, I don't think I've ever done a video that's specifically about game music before, so I think I'm going to do some more of those in the future, but today we're going to go over some 8-bit titles that have some absolutely stellar music and see how they stack up. And before we get started, I am going to lay some ground rules, just again like we did with the licensed videos. I'm not going to cover any games that we all know have absolutely incredible soundtracks, and I'm thinking like your Mega Mans, your Castlevanias, Mario 3, the ones that everybody's heard of. I'm not really going to be talking about those today, and it's not because I don't think those soundtracks are amazing. That music's not amazing. I love the Mega Man music specifically. I listen to it all the time. But I feel like they've been talked about enough that this is not something that we need to be talking about again over and over again. If that's something you guys want me to talk about a little bit more in depth, I actually have quite a bit to say about the Mega Man music specifically, and I want to make just a kind of a dedicated video for that. But again, this is not a video for looking at stuff that everybody's probably already familiar with. I want to try to introduce some stuff to people that maybe they haven't heard of, or like get some obscure game that has this one really great track that you probably wouldn't even hear because it's an obscure game or like an absolute budget game or something like that. So that's the idea here. That's what we're going for. So with that in mind, let's see what these things have to offer. Okay, so we're going to start out with the game that actually gave me the idea for this video in the first place. And those of you guys that watched last week's video on licensed NES games may remember that I covered the Jetsons Cogswell's Caper, which in my opinion is a criminally underappreciated game in the NES's library. It was a late release title, so not a lot of people knew about it, but I think that's an absolute shame. It has a unique sound that I haven't really heard in any other NES game that I can think of. However, I have heard of it in one other game, one Game Boy game as a matter of fact, and that game is called Tailgator. And I actually made this discovery kind of by accident while I was watching a speedrun of this game that one of my friends was doing, and I thought, you know what, that music, that sounds kind of familiar, and it took me a minute to put my finger on it, but then I looked it up, and yeah, sure enough, this is by the same person that composed the music for the Jetsons Cogswell's Caper. And like I said, the music in this game has just a completely unique sound. It's this kind of jaunty, upbeat, just kind of makes your toes start tapping. These compositions are just fantastic and really, really something that surprised me pleasantly. And honestly, the music from the Jetsons is something that I still remember from my childhood, like continually, like every now and again, it just, one of those level songs just pops in my head and I just start humming it. The music is that good in those games, and it's really better than it probably has any right to be, since that was, a licensed game. But then there's this other one right here that has different music that's actually just as good, I think, and still preserves that unique sound. Here's a little sample of it so you can see what I mean. Now the next game with amazing music that I'm going to cover is one that's absolute comfort food to me, and I did mention it in last week's video even though it wasn't one of the main videos that I covered. I am going to do a history video on it here at some point because it is a massive history with this franchise. But that is Adventure Island 2, and if you've never played the Adventure Island games, they're kind of just run and gun platformers. There's a hunger meter, so basically if you don't continue collecting food while you're running, then eventually you'll die from hunger, which is kind of a cool mechanic. But this is a huge game from my childhood, and that first stage theme is something that has just stuck with me ever since I was 7 or whatever age I was that I played this game. The music was so good that they actually used a lot of it for the sequel, Adventure Island 3 as well. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's a fantastic soundtrack. So here's a sample from it. It's one of those ones that's just an earworm, it gets stuck in your head, and I absolutely love this song. And speaking of earworms, there's another one from childhood that I want to point out, which I don't think a lot of people know about, and that is Kickle Cubicle. Now, Kickle Cubicle is a puzzle game. It's one of my favorite games of all time, but the main stage theme is just, it's an earworm. It gets stuck in your head, and it's something that just keeps coming back to me over and over and over, and it doesn't take itself too seriously, and I really like that about this music. So that's from Kickle Cubicle. Again, this is a game where you are going through and saving a world of frozen vegetables and fruit and candy from evil snowmen and clowns and those sorts of things. So clearly this is a super serious game, and the music totally reflects that. But in all seriousness, here's a sample. Take a look. Next, I want to talk about one of the songs from one of my favorite budget titles. This is one that you can probably get for $10 at a convention, and that is Legacy of the Wizard. And the reason why this one is cheap is because it's very much an old Metroidvania where it does not hold your hand at all. You're expected to draw maps. You're expected to just kind of figure it out as you go along. It's honestly a really, really good game, but it can be very, very confusing. I think that's probably why a lot of people don't have the patience for it nowadays. If you played the original Metroid, think that. It's very similar, but if that's your kind of thing, it's a fantastic game. But I'm not really here to talk about the gameplay. I'm here to talk about the music, because this is a game by Broderbund, and that's kind of an interesting thing because they made a ton of obscure titles for the NES that a lot of people probably played, but they didn't probably love, or they rented once, because they usually had something with the game where it may have been a good game, but there was one little thing that kind of tripped you up. But that said, The Legacy of the Wizard is one of my favorite games for soundtracks because the title theme is absolutely stellar. It's one of those ones that just kind of fits the tone of the adventure super well. It's super well composed, and it doesn't overstay its welcome. Fantastic song. And I've also got to give honorable mention to the end credits theme on this one. I'll play that at the end of this video over my outro if you want to listen to that. But that is also another absolutely incredible track. And again, this is a cheap one. You can pick this one up for $10 all day long at a convention, and I highly recommend doing that. All right, next I'm going to cover two games at once because there's something they have in common, and that is Solstice and Kiwi Craze. And there's a couple other ones that are in this category as well, but these are ones that have title themes that are composed by Tim Follin. If you don't know who Tim Follin is, you probably heard a Tim Follin song in an NES game, even if you didn't know it. I mean, Solstice, which is this one right here, this is a puzzle platformer, kind of a moody puzzle platformer, but the opening title theme goes so hard for being a puzzle platformer game. It really doesn't make any sense, but it is an absolutely amazing track. I'll play a little bit of a sample here, but it's a long track. You should go back and listen to the whole thing after you get done watching this video. It's totally worth your time, but here you go. And since we talked about Kiwi Craze, again, this is another title track that goes super hard for a game about a little yellow bird. Doesn't fit the game super well, I'll be honest, but that doesn't make the track any less worth listening to. So if you haven't heard the title theme for Kiwi Craze, here's a little sample of that. Again, 100% worth listening to and going back to and listen to the whole thing after you're done with this video, because it goes so hard. Here you go. Alright, now before I get to what I would consider the best overall soundtrack of anything that I'm going to cover today, I do want to take a break and talk about a homebrew game that came out, I think, in 2018, so it's a more modern game, but it is an NES game, and that's the Cowlitz Second Adventure. Now, for those of you guys that don't know what this was a homebrew that was made specifically for the Cowlitz Gamers for Kids Expo that was run by John Hancock several years ago. I got a copy of it secondhand from John Riggs just because I speedrun this game. I ran this game in AGDQ in 2021, and I really wanted to do that on a physical copy, so I got a copy of it from him. But I gotta say, the music for this game from Roby and Chip Jockey is absolutely incredible. This is one of the best soundtracks of any homebrew, really any game, full stop, on the NES's library. It is just one pounding track after another, and it is the perfect thing to play this game to. And I can't say enough good things about this music in this game, because every track is just a banger one after another. So it's absolutely worth listening to. You probably heard some of this music as background music in my videos before, because I love this soundtrack so much, and it really makes good background music. But I'll play a sample of one of the songs here, and just, it's, again, an absolutely incredible soundtrack. You need to check it out. But again, here's a sample. And again, you can find the link to the game's itch.io page in the description below, and I believe there's actually a soundtrack download as part of the game if you were to actually buy the game. And again, totally worth checking out. The whole soundtrack is just as good as that one song that I just showed you. But that said, we're going to move on to what I would consider the strongest NES soundtrack that I can think of that's not like in the mainstream, and that is in Bucky O'Hare. Every single song in this game is absolutely stellar. Like, there are no bad ones. This is one of the best soundtracks on the NES, full stop. There's a bunch of different environments that you go through, you know, ice and fire and all those other things. All the songs fit really, really well in their environments, but also are just absolute bangers, just one after another, all on their own. I can't really say enough good things about this game in general. I absolutely love this game, but the music especially is something that you can just listen to the music. You don't even have to play the game. You can just listen to the music, and it's absolutely phenomenal. So I'm gonna play a sample track. Honestly, it's kind of hard for me to choose just one, but I'll play a sample track for you guys just so you guys can kind of see, and then after you're done watching this, go check out the soundtrack for this game. Again, it's one of the best soundtracks on the entire NES's library because you can just listen straight through, and again, there really are no bad songs. Alright, so that was my list of 8-bit games that have absolutely incredible soundtracks. Now, the reality is I could probably do 5 or 6 or 10 of these videos and still never run out of games to talk about because I'm a huge video game music nerd. I love listening to chiptunes, and I could probably pull 20 off my shelf right now and talk about them. So if you guys like this type of video, if you like this topic, just let me know in the comments. I can absolutely revisit this kind of thing because I could talk about this for probably a really, really long time. But that said, until next time, thank you guys so much for watching. Please make sure you like and comment and subscribe. This is one of those things where I'm trying to really increase my output so we can get to 2,000 subscribers and we can get more content out for you guys. And I'm really having a good time doing this right now as well. So that's been a lot of fun. I've really appreciated all the views we've gotten so far in the last several weeks, especially since I was injured, you know, and I recovered from that, and I'm back at it now. And again, I just appreciate you guys so much that you come and you hang out and you watch. But until next time, like, comment, subscribe, do all that YouTube stuff. Thank you guys again so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.